Hey there, Knicks fans. This NBA season, every shot you take with Fanatics Sportsbook puts points on the board. Earn up to 10% FANCASH on your bets, win or lose. So even if your bet misses, you're still scoring FANCASH. Unlock the world of Fanatics with FANCASH for exclusive rewards like authentic apparel, game tickets, and meeting legend at Fanatics events. Make the switch and turn every bet into a bucket with Fanatics Sportsbook. Winning hits different here.
All right, welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. The New York Knicks fall to the 76ers 116-107 in a very, very frustrating game for I imagine for everyone watching. I'm sure for the players, a very uncharacteristic performance by this Knicks team, especially this Knicks team that we've seen over the past several years, taking care of the ball, doing the little things, controlling the controllables, as I like to say. They did none of that today in the loss to the Sixers, in which, listen, we're going to get into all of it. The shot making was wretched from basically the start, especially the starters. It just didn't seem like they were making shots that this team has been making at a really high level this year. I thought the looks they were getting, especially in the first half, were very good. I think if you had taken that shot quality diet and you extended that through a whole season, you're going to do really well as an offense. And the Knicks didn't make a ton of shots. It felt like if Mitchell Robinson wasn't getting offensive rebounds, especially in that third quarter, this team wasn't going to be able to score. I thought you really felt the McBride absence today. We'll get into that. The turnovers killed them. That's the story of the night. 18 turnovers by the Knicks. That's a wild number to see for this Knicks team. They were 16-2 down in the points off turnovers category. You're negative 14 in that area. It's just really hard to make that difference up, especially when your shot making just wasn't there. Of all those things that happen, you can really, I think, make a really good argument that you could tie everything back to like one single thing about this ball game, and the Knicks look like a tired ball club. The 76ers haven't played a basketball game since I think the 14th, so they've had almost a week off. They were fresher. Obviously, they're a younger team, especially in the backcourt. They were more spry. They really got into the Knicks in terms of their on-ball defense. I thought Brunson and Kolek specifically really struggled with the amount of aggression that the 76ers were supplying to the New York Knicks. And a lot of those shots that weren't falling, especially early, and as the game went on, again, shots coming up short, that very well could be fatigue. Turnovers, uncharacteristic turnovers. This team does not turn the ball over, and they were throwing the ball all over Madison Square Garden. That is a sign of a team that is tired, a sign of a team making bad decisions based on that fatigue, and a sign of a team that just didn't have the requisite energy, juice, athleticism, explosiveness to make enough happen in this game to withstand a really aggressive, waiting in the wings, biting at the bit, whatever you want to say, 76ers team that wanted this game really badly. And they probably wanted it more than the Knicks, and they probably should. It makes a lot of sense based on what the Knicks just had to do in Vegas and what they had to do in Indiana just last night. And before I know this, we're going to get, I'm sure, a lot of this in the super chats about what the Knicks, the value in what they did in Vegas, and the fact that there may have been a bit of a hangover in Indiana, but they were able to squeak that game out, and it seemed to me at least this team really was just on fumes for a lot of it in this game. I still don't want to take away what happened in Vegas and like even if this team has a bit of a rut here, that Vegas thing is like happened in its own sort of ecosystem, and it was a great thing, and I'm glad the Knicks went for it. But that doesn't mean there's not going to be repercussions for that. And if this team now is going to have to deal with some lingering fatigue here and trying to, get their footing back, then so be it. Luckily, their record now at 19-8 is such that they could withstand a bit of a, swoop in the season. But I think that we should not, I know this is not the 76ers postgame show, but we should not take away from what that team did. And, Tyrese Maxey has played better games of offensively. He's played better games on that same floor. But you saw, especially in the fourth quarter, where the Knicks started to really sell out defensively, putting 2 on the ball. Mikal Bridges just didn't have a chance to stay in front of him. And one led to that VJ Edgecombe pull-up jumper in the kind of around the free throw line. And then VJ obviously hit a 3 just a possession later off another blitz on Tyrese Maxey. I thought Maxey could have had 40 tonight if he really wanted it. You really felt the McBride absence in this one. And, Bridges has had a fantastic year overall, but this is the type of player that he is unable to guard right now. And, the Knicks I think around the second quarter, or maybe late first, deployed Jordan Clarkson for a hilariously long stretch of time to guard Tyrese Maxey. They just don't have right now with McBride out the guys that can really guard those shifty, young, dynamic guards. And because of that, late in the game, I think Mike Brown had to go to a bit more aggressive style of pick and roll defense to try to get the ball out of Maxey's hands. And listen, you're going to live with those VJ Edgecombe shots. For all that he has done as a rookie, he is still a guy you'd rather have the ball in his hands and make a play than Tyrese Maxey. I am not criticizing one bit Mike Brown's decision to aggressively take Tyrese Maxey out of that game late, but you are going to give up open shots, and it's up to those ancillary pieces to make those shots. Credit to VJ Edgecombe. He made those shots. And that wasn't even the best part of VJ Edgecombe's night. Of course, his on-ball defense against Jalen Brunson was elite. It's one of the better defensive games I've seen a young guard play against Jalen Brunson. And I think you have to also acknowledge that Brunson really had to exert a ton of energy just last night. And of course, the NBA Cup is what it is. If Brunson had a night off, if he had a bit more rest in between, maybe the performance would have been different. A lot of his shots were short. Now, I think a lot of that was the fact that he was having to raise his release point and his shot arc a little more against those Edgecombe shot contests, which is going to force you to, maybe come up short a little more. He was not shooting the ball like you saw him in Indiana against Nemhart's on-ball defense where he once he gets to that especially going to over his left shoulder as a left-hand shooter on that reversed pivot fadeaway, he can just take his normal shot knowing Nemhart is not going to be able to contest at the top of the release. That is not an option against Edgecombe. It was a little bit longer, a little bit stronger, and more explosive than Nemhart, who can get right to his release point. And you saw Brunson having to vary that up a little bit. That's why he was short, or part of the reason why he was short on a lot of his shots. The fatigue, the energy that he has expended over the past couple of weeks had to have had an impact there as well. But I do think you have to be fair to credit what those 76ers guards were able to do. And it wasn't just Edgecombe. I thought Grimes on-ball pressure on Tyler Kolek, who, my word, came back down to earth, crashing back down to earth with a thud in this one. Tyler is going to be an NBA player. This wasn't a game where I'm like, now I'm worried about him going forward. But we saw this in the second game of the season against Boston, where Hugo Gonzalez got into Kolek's dribble and took him out of the game, was really aggressive with him. And you saw Grimes early, and it just continued through the night. The guards for the 76ers, and this is where Kolek is going to have to be mindful that the book is going to be out on him, where if you can really get into his handle, like, is he going to be able to create enough space, not only to weaponize that and get downhill, but also like leave enough room for the screener to come up and set a screen. You saw that in the second half where I think it was Grimes applying on-ball pressure right at half court. There was no separation between Grimes and Kolek. Mitchell Robinson comes up to set a screen, but there really wasn't an area for him to screen because there just wasn't any separation, and Mitch ends up getting called for an offensive foul. He moved a little bit, and yeah, it probably was on him to not be stationary, but it is very difficult when you're a big trying to screen for your guard when there is zero separation between the handler and the on-ball defender. And this is a game where Kolek is going to have to, obviously a learning experience is a cliche, but he's going to have to figure out some counters to this because, again, it's not going to be every team because most teams don't have guards that can really do it. And, obviously Indiana, other than Nembhard, really doesn't have the guards to really apply that pressure on a possession-to-possession basis. The 76ers really went out of their way to do it, and it really disrupted what Kolek was trying to do. I thought, whatever turnovers he ended up having, 5 or 6, he probably could have had two more. Just a really rough game, and that's saying nothing about the defensive end, where clearly the 76ers were trying to target him. He got called for 5 fouls. He was able to, they were able to get him into like that short mid-range area, shoot over the top. Kolek at 6'2", but a short wingspan, really can't contest at the top of the release point against some of these, bigger guards. McCain got him a few times. It's going to Maxey on one of them. There's going to be struggles there, but again, we have to also contextualize like where Kolek is as an NBA player. This is very early in the career, and it probably is one of those games where, with all the euphoria about his performance in Vegas and how he carried it over to Indiana and what we were all saying, me included, about like what he is now going to be for this team going forward, it's a little reminder that he still is in terms of NBA experience, a very young guard. He is still going to have those same deficiencies that he had before his good run in Vegas and in last night. Those things are still there. The size disadvantage that he has almost every night, the quickness disadvantage he's going to have almost every night, and the fact that at least right now teams can, if they have the requisite guys to do it, can get into his dribble and really make things tough for him. Now, this is not to also acknowledge that he has made his basketball career with guys thinking they can get into his dribble and really be aggressive with him and try to be physical with him. He's probably going to figure this out, but there's going to be nights where he's just not going to have it. And with Deuce McBride out, there just wasn't a lot for Mike Brown to go to in terms of maybe pulling the plug on Kolek a little bit earlier than he would have if the Knicks had McBride available in this game. McBride has been obviously a critical piece to this season so far. I think you're seeing the shot making loss, how critical that is, the volume of threes, and also the efficiency in taking them and making them. But just having a guy that you can put against Maxey, yeah, he's not going to shut him down, but he's going to be able to do a good job of limiting him. You're probably not going to be required to be as aggressive, especially late in games if McBride is out there. And he's a guy that can, get you into an offensive set. He's not your traditional backup point guard, but he is an option. And, it's a moment where I think we just have to be open to Kolek having a little more ebbs and flows in his season. And it's not going to just be a complete, upward trajectory all through the playoffs. He's going to have these moments where teams are really going to make life hard on him. And you saw that. And it's going to be up to Kolek to really figure out what he could do to take that pressure. Because the thing is, when you're that aggressive with him, and you're really up in his dribble, and he's now has advantages and counters that he can also do, and getting downhill, getting into 2 feet in the paint and playing off that. That's something he's gonna have to figure out. But tonight he just didn't have it. And I think if McBride was available, it would have been a moment where Kolek wouldn't have played as much as he did. Tough night for the Knicks. OG Anunoby just didn't have, it seemed, his legs on the offensive end. It was funny on the defensive end, especially in the second half. He seemed like he was ultra aggressive. He was not really tasked with much on ball responsibility. A few Paul George isolations, but really didn't have to do a lot. He seemed very much trying to disrupt things in the second half. Defensively, seemed to have his legs there, but offensively, again, like most of the Knicks that were missing their shots, he was coming up short on all of them, or most of them. And when you have Brunson playing like he was playing, didn't really have it going. You don't really have much in terms of the scoring efficiency from Cat that we have become accustomed to seeing, but also didn't seem like Cat was really sort of stretching the defense in ways where he can still impact the game at a high level, even if he wasn't scoring. Josh Hart was pretty much a non-factor in the game. Didn't really feel Josh Hart's presence. I thought early, Dominic Barlow really got over his, he really made life hard on Josh Hart just rebounding the basketball in that first quarter. And Barlow's energy was, jumping off the screen, excuse me. And Hart really couldn't handle that in that first few minutes of that game. Barlow, obviously a long, rangy, big wing power forward. So he is a guy that can give a guy like Josh Hart some problems, but Hart didn't feel like Josh Hart had enough juice, even with the night off last night, to withstand that, and didn't really feel like he put his mark on the game. I thought he passed up on some threes, and especially in the second half. That's not good. Hopefully that's not a trend that is going to continue. So, you don't want to put too much on one game in terms of the negativity, because the 76ers, I know Embiid didn't play, but this has been a solid basketball team all year, and they have really good guards, and Maxey is playing at an all NBA caliber level right now, and they can beat you if you're not playing well. And the Knicks didn't do much well unless Mitchell Robinson was involved. And I do think we should acknowledge the Mitchell Robinson performance, who, obviously the best Knick on the night, 21 points, 16 rebounds, at least 2 blocks today. 2 blocks. And shockingly, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. If that is portending anything in terms of improved free throw shooting, this game will have more positive coming out of it than negative, if that can be something Mitchell Robinson can carry over going forward here in terms of the free throw shooting. But he was awesome in this one. He was the most explosive, athletic, springy as he has been all year. The 3-point block shot, which was such a hallmark to him his first couple of years, it's really gone away as he's moved along in his career. It's like for me, it's like the Undertaker doing like the top rope thing, walks the top rope, and he comes down with the forearm or the clothesline on the shoulder, whatever the thing is, and it's called old school. Like, he'll pull it out every once in a while. Mitch blocking Edgecombe was like that. That's like his old school, like, signature move. But to me, it's like a proxy, and I tweeted this out, for how he's feeling looking as an athlete, because you have to get off the ground with quickness and a level of bounce that hasn't been there consistently over the past few 3 seasons maybe, but it's something that he had tonight. And I thought he was, and this was a carryover from the Cup Finals, where he was really good defensively against the Spurs. He was awesome defensively in this one, and he has not been that type of defensive player consistently this year. And I said this after the Cup game: if he can carry over the defensive production and be a very good to great defensive player for this Knicks team for the remainder of the year, that is going to be huge for this ball club, because while his offensive rebounding and offensive impact has been there since day one, the defense has not. It was tonight. It was against San Antonio. If he can carry that through, that's a huge deal for this Knicks team, who needs Mitchell Robinson playing at a high level defensively, if they're going to continue being roughly a top 10 defensive team. But he was great. He finished the ball. Mitch is one where he can finish if he's dunking it, but anything on where he's having to finish underneath the rim with layups could be a little tricky. But he made those in this one. Obviously, the rebounding on both sides, not just offensive rebounding. He was vacuuming up every rebound he can get his hands on. He was great. And, he obviously didn't play in the Indiana game last night. I'm sure that had a lot to do with it in terms of like how he looked athletically. But he has had now two, not just like very good games for your prototypical center, like great games, like all-star level games in terms of the production the last two nights, last two games he's played. And he's been this way all year offensively. He is now figuring it out defensively. And if you can get those two things in good working order and he can stay healthy, I've said for years now, he's a top 10 center on a permanent basis when he's feeling good and he's healthy. And he's played like that in the last two nights that he's played. And we can just hope that that is something that could be carried over going forward. This one is going to frustrate a lot of people. It frustrated me watching it. I think there's a lot of context with this one that we have to acknowledge, and the cup and the energy and all the things that they did to win that thing has to be part of the equation here. We can't just say this was a game we played in a vacuum and what happened had nothing to do with anything that happened that preceded it. I think the cup impacted how the Knicks played tonight. Yet I don't have any, not even a little bit, criticism or frustration about how they managed and went for it in Vegas. I still think that was the right decision, and I'm glad they did it, even if it's going to put a dent in this regular season. And if you're going to argue with me that this loss has more impact or importance than that win in Vegas, if you're looking just in the standings, you're right, because one counted, one didn't. And that's a fair way of looking at it. It's not the take I'm going to have. It's not how I view things. I think that cup is going to matter. And I think that its importance is going to grow in time. This thing is not going anywhere. And this thing is going, you're going to remember that night in Vegas, I think, in a few years. I still think that's going to hold. We're going to forget about this one probably tomorrow or the next day, and we're going to move on from it. It doesn't take away the frustration of what that was, and the turnovers and the missed shots and all the defensive decisions and some of the things that we saw on that court. But let's also still contextualize how important that Vegas Cup win was for this team. And I think that was an organizational decision. The players wanted it, they got it, and we can understand that sometimes there are unintended consequences with anything you do in life. And one of those is going to be, maybe you're just going to have to get your legs back, and it's going to take a few games. And that doesn't make me feel any worse about what they did in Vegas. But I do feel everyone in terms of their frustration on this one. I think the 76ers team, I said this a few days ago, they have, coming into this one, I worried about it because I didn't know how the Knicks were going to really stay in front of some of their guards. And, they did a pretty good job with McCain. They kept him out of the deep paint, and he made some shots in the short mid-range area, but Maxey they don't have a matchup for him right now, with McBride out. Even when McBride's there, he's going to be tough for them. And he proved his value as an all-NBA player on this night. And the way the game sort of unraveled late with Maxey making plays, getting off the ball, it's a microcosm of what Mike Brown needed to do to try to get the ball out of his hands. I thought some of the zone, second quarter, I believe, they really broke that out. Looking at my notes, so third quarter, Sixers were up 5, 70-65. Knicks went to their 2-3 zone. It wasn't every possession, but they had a pretty good stretch of some zone. Knicks ended up taking the lead shortly thereafter. So I think the zone actually did slow the 76ers down a little bit. The zone for the Knicks has been very poor in terms of points per possession and just the way it looks. Doesn't look good. Teams feel like they're getting good shots out of it. Teams look comfortable against it. Even Indiana last night, they seemed to get to, the holes in that, middle area of that 2-3 zone, and able to get to their shots. In this one, I thought it actually worked. It doesn't feel like it's going to be something they're going to be able to spam and go possession after possession. But if you're going to have it in your back pocket as something you can throw out there when you don't really feel comfortable about the way you're guarding on the ball, yeah, I thought it was a really good decision by Mike Brown. It worked for a little bit of time, but eventually you're going to have to guard the ball. And if you're going to have any sort of big picture takeaway about defensively, what this tells you is that this Knicks team still is going to struggle with quick, shifty guards. And it's first half in the Cup final, it was on full display. They did a better job in the second half. In this one, you really saw it. Indiana doesn't really have the sort of guards that are going to blow by you and get all the way to the rim. Their guards more carve out space and kind of bump you off and get to their short mid-range area. The 76ers, though, have guards that can really get to the rim. And the Knicks struggle with that, and they've struggled with that pretty much all year. So when we look at what this team can do to improve, and again, Deuce McBride has to be a part of the conversation here because he definitely fixes a lot of these things I'm talking about. But even with Deuce playing, I think it's fair to believe that this Knicks team does need someone else that you'd feel comfortable with guarding the ball, and especially guards like Maxey, guards that can really shoot it and great straight line drives. That's a really tough combination for any team, and it feels like the Knicks right now are uniquely positioned here to really struggle against that. But look, we're going to talk this through, and this game is going to be what it is. I think if these teams played on with the sort of equal footing in terms of the rest, the Knicks, I think, win the game because they're going to shoot their way to a sizable lead in the first half. They would have. If they had an average shooting night, the Knicks are up 10, 12 points in the first half, and you're feeling great about it, and they probably win the game. They didn't do it. There's a lot of reasons why. Credit goes to the 76ers. Also, you got to put into context what the Knicks have been dealing with in terms of the amount of minutes and the intensity of some of these games of late. And that's a big deal right there. All right, so that's how we start the show. We do have some things that we have to discuss to help me do that and to help boost the mood of this meandering, solemn experience that is a Knicks loss is my good friend Andrew Claudio. What's up, Andrew?
What up, DJ? So I was so ready to come on here and laugh at the city of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia 76ers, their fans that boost Super Bowl champions months after winning Super Bowl championships, the Phillies because principled, even though I don't exactly have many things to laugh at in the baseball world of my own. I was so ready. And I've came to a conclusion tonight, DJ, that is a very frustrating one. The Philadelphia 76ers, as currently constructed, the one we saw tonight, is actually very fun. That is a very fun team to watch. Notably, a gigantic loser was not playing for them, but they look very fun. If this was just who they were, and it was like, the Andre Drummond at center and Adembona as backup, you'd be like, let them get an upgraded center and maybe they'd be something good. Unfortunately, their upgraded center makes $100 million over the next 2 seasons, or maybe even the next 1.5 seasons. That's just a fun basketball team. I hate that I enjoyed watching what VJ Edgecombe was doing. Like you said, when they would go to the short roll, and because they were doubling Maxey, he just rose to every occasion down the stretch. I was like, ooh, I would enjoy watching this team if they played in any other city on the planet. Literally any other city on the planet. Antarctica Sixers. I'd be like, this is a fun basketball team. Having said all of that, that is my take on the game.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna go to segments. You seemed like you wanted to retort. What's up?
No, I completely agree with everything you're saying in terms of like they are a likable, fun team right now. Maxey, you can't not like him, even though he ripped our hearts out in a playoff series that luckily the Knicks ended up pulling out. But him, Edgecombe, McCain. I mean, they do have a base there in terms of their guard play that is really exciting for them going forward. It's funny, the Embiid thing does make things a little more complicated with that, but I thought rebounding the ball when Mitchell Robinson wasn't on the court, the 76ers did a great job rebounding. If Embiid is out there, they probably don't have that great advantage in terms of, or neutral advantage in terms of the rebounding. So I don't know, maybe Embiid would have made life a little bit easier for the Knicks. But yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, it's hard not to like that group, man. I'm with you.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah. You know what the situation is? It's as if, imagine you got invited to my new house, and it's just, I did renovations on the house recently. It's my old one, but it's just the new house with renovations. It looks great. Like, Claudio, I love what you've done with the place. And then you kind of find out that the basement is still haunted and it's still flooded and it still has so many things that are very expensive to repair. And it's like, yeah, but ignore that part of the house.
Right.
Just ignore the part that you like of the house. Let's just do that. What we're not going to ignore is our friends at Fanatics Sportsbook, because we are going to talk about our best bets for tonight. Shout out to our friends, as always, at Fanatics Sportsbook. We have more on them in just a little bit. So it was my turn to do the 5 picks. I'm the current leader on the leaderboard for betting and sweating. I had a bad night tonight. I had 40.5 for Maxey on points, rebounds, and assists. He finished with 40. So a very rough, bad beat for Tyrese Maxey on my end. Unfortunately for us, he also had 38-2. I just needed 31-8-2 or 38-3, and it would have been fine. But that being said, we do have some best bets that were featured in the Fanatics Sportsbook app. So Mensa actually went with the Maxey prop that hit. He had Tyrese Maxey at 27 points. He had this before he even hit the dagger 3 down the stretch. We'll come back to Jonathan Macri. So second quarter, Jeff took second quarter Knicks spread of -5. Do you have the box score in front of you of what the Knicks and the Sixers scored in the second quarter? So the Knicks just had to win this quarter by 1 point.
They won by 2.
And if you remember how the end of the second quarter, how it was going and how it ended. So Mikal Bridges pump fake and gets the easiest midi of all time, and he bricks it. The Sixers come back the other end and hit a 3. It cuts a 5-point lead down to 2. Knicks run a play. I forget the exact details, but it ends with a Josh Hart layup that is blocked at the rim. And it's like, oh my gosh, they hit a 3 here, or even just hit a 2 to tie it. Then that, like, Jeff's bet misses. And it's a Maxey step back. One of the few he missed tonight that misses for 3. But then there was like a fast break the other way that something didn't happen. And then it was back the other way. And we were sweating it in the betting and sweating group chat. So Jeff hits. So we are 2 for 2 here. Unfortunately, Jonathan Macri went with Cat, getting 12 plus rebounds. All the rebounds went to Mitchell Robinson tonight, and just one more needed to go to Karl Anthony Towns, who finished with 11. So we go 2 for 3 on the evening. Those were our best bets. Shout out again to the Fanatics Sportsbook team. Check out the Fanatics Sportsbook app, download it, and then bet along with us for each game. You mentioned me being here to bring the vibes up, DJ.
Yes.
And you're right. Tonight is a cause for celebration, DJ. And you know how we're going to celebrate the Knicks winning the NBA Cup, and something we should always remember, that even though the NBA schedule makers screwed us here, and I maintain that if you win the NBA Cup, you should just be allowed to add a win to your record. The Knicks should be 20-8 right now, because guess what? They won 20 games. We have some new merch now available in the Knicks Film School store. Kevin, put it up on the screen. That's right. We respect the cup here at Knicks Film School. I'm going to pin it to the chat now. Oh, wait, that thing went away. I'll fix it later. It's on the Knicks Film School merch store. We have this shirt that you're seeing on screen. If you're listening, it is pinned in your episode description. I think I'll buy 7, maybe 17. I don't know. I just know I respect the cup, and this certainly reflects my feelings at the moment. What else we got, Kev? What else we got? Vegas paid out the 2025 Cup champions, ladies and gentlemen. I should say, shout out to Mark, producer Mark, who created the designs for all of these shirts that you're seeing, these new merch ideas that we have now in the merch store. And then one more, last but not least, we are all in on number 11. So that's craps, right? That's the game.
That's roulette.
Isn't roulette the thing that spins? Oh, this is the thing that
place
spins.
Your bets.
That's right.
Yeah, you place your bets on the board.
Okay.
You see how often I've played either game. I'm a card player. I play card games, so I personally don't know the actual Vegas lingo, but I do know I am all in on number 11 and on this new piece of merch. So we've got 3 new merch items in the Knicks Film School merch store. Great gifts for your favorite Knicks fan in your life. Great gifts for you. Great holiday gifts, whether it be Hanukkah or Christmas that you'd like to get somebody a gift. So DJ, how many of these are you getting for everybody that you know? Which one is your favorite?
Well, I would say the Respect the Cup has to be there for me, and I will say it has nothing to do with the Knicks winning. I respect the cup as like a ethos to live by, as a source of like my guiding principle in life. It's my internal compass, so I always respect the cup. The Knicks winning it, yeah, it adds a little bit of value, but I respect it so much that if it doesn't even matter that the Knicks are cup champions, I would have gotten a bunch of these anyway. The fact the Knicks won, yeah, I'm doubling the order. Like that's the one for me.
Hell yeah, I co-sign. This is probably the shirt that I because this is, again, like you said, a personal motto that I live by. I walk by. I eat, breathe, and sleep, respecting the cup. So there you go. Shout out to Mark. Shout out to Jeremy, who's in charge of our merch store, and shout out to the Knicks Film School audience who hopefully get some of these for the holidays. Next up, I believe we have our stat of the game. Shout out to intern Jonas. Kev, would you like to put that on the screen as well? The next thing we're going to go to is stat of the game, and I'll let you walk through it, DJ.
Plus 21 point rebound differential for the Knicks on this one. I think you would have to say that Mitchell Robinson deserves about 95% of the credit for the Knicks having that rebound differential of plus 21, because there was a point in the first quarter where it was basically even in the rebounding department. Mitchell Robinson comes in the game and then completely flips it on its head. And this was obviously led by Mitch. Hart ended up in double figures as well in terms of the rebounding. And throughout franchise history, this is only the 10th time the Knicks have been plus 21 on the glass or better and lost the game. So this is a wildly rare night in terms of how the Knicks played in terms of the turnovers, and to rebound that well, to dominate that much, and to still lose the game. Only the 10th time in franchise history. So good stat by Jonah on that one. It's pretty good. It sucks a lot, but a pretty good stat by Jonah.
Kev, do we have to sing it? Because it's not called stat of the game in the blurb you sent us. It's Jonah's Neato stat of the night, which is no longer a segment being occupied by any entity at the moment, because Inside the NBA, last I checked, doesn't exist, or at least isn't airing regularly anymore.
Yes, it's ours now.
Jonah's Neato stat of the night, sponsored by your fine folks at the Knicks Film School merch store. Get your holiday merch now. And then last but not least, DJ, it's time for, we don't have a jingle for this one either. It's Friday, so we're doing chat of the night as we always do. The rules are simple. DJ's going to read your super chats. Kev's going to look through the regular chats, the regular comments. We're going to star a bunch that we think are worthy of analysis or contributions of chat of the night. So send everything in to the comment section, and we will decide a winner, which will get $25 in FANCASH from the Fanatics store, which you can get the official merch from the NBA Cup for the Knicks at the Fanatics store as well. Or you could place some best bets when we're back at it again on Monday using your FANCASH. But regardless, those are the rules for chat of the night. DJ, you are judge, jury, and executioner. I don't know why you're executing somebody for putting in a chat during a post-game show, but that is your call. Whatever you'd like to do. These are the roles that we have assigned to you tonight, Mr. DJ Zullo. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever, so it's good to actually get some FaceTime with you, DJ. It's good to see you, my friend. It really
good to see you too, as always. We're always in contact one way, shape, or form, but hasn't been on camera recently as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's nice to see you, and thank you for boosting my mood a little bit as we transition to our super chats. And thank you for the power to select the Fanatics chat of the night, because I'm very excited to do that for the first time this year. So thank you.
Hell yeah. Go Knicks.
Yes,
regardless of how fun I think the Sixers are, I hope that city has a bad winter. I'm not going to be like too, like, you want to have like somewhat good vibes, put good things out there. I won't wish too much bad things on people, but I hope that city has a bad winter. That's all I hope. I hope they get a lot of snow and they have to shovel it, and it's really hard to do. That's all.
A lot of wet, heavy snow. Yeah.
I hope they all get stuck in holiday traffic this weekend, which is probably the worst thing you could wish on somebody outside of being an executioner. Okay, I did my job. Have a good night, everybody.
I'll see you, buddy.
Bye, DJ.
All right, so yeah, get your chats in for the Fanatics chat of the night. And let's kick it right off. Let's see what everyone wants to talk about. Start off with Deadwards 604. What's going on, Deadwards? How are you, man? They look tired tonight at times. Second night of a back-to-back and a very condensed part of the schedule due to the cup games. Relax tomorrow and go beat the Heat. Yeah, I think it's a huge part of what went down. And, I was sort of wrestling with the idea of like, how much am I going to place the onus on the Knicks in terms of like how they played on the court versus the 76ers contribution to like force that, or like how much is that part of the fatigue, the energy that just wasn't there on the night? It's probably a combination of all three. It's very possible that last one, the fatigue, the lack of juice that this team had, was the most critical aspect to what we saw in this one. So just looking at the schedule, so they have literally one day off, and it's back to they have the Heat, and then one day off, and it's Minnesota. So this is not only a condensed schedule, but these are going to be aggressive, physical opponents that the Knicks are going to have to, if it takes them a game or two to get their sea legs, hopefully that has happened now, and they can take a deep breath and sort of like get back into the typical grind of the season. But this is also the point of the year where it gets a little grindy in terms of like, you played a good amount of games, there's injuries, there's attrition, sort of throw in the cup, and then you have a condensed schedule and all that. It is going to test the mettle of this team for these next two. It's going to be very interesting to see how they respond against the Heat and Minnesota coming up here. Thanks, Deadwards. Appreciate it. Colin Reardon, 5989. What's up, Colin? Man, they are really lacking a true point of attack guard defender. And they lack it when Deuce McBride is healthy. They are just desperate for one when Deuce is not healthy. We got good news on Deuce before the game. He is cleared for on-court activities, so he's basically going to be day-to-day going forward here. So hopefully he's back for the Miami game. At the very least, he should be back, I would imagine, for Minnesota. Both those teams in different ways are going to kind of test you on the offensive end. You'd probably feel his absence a little more maybe against Miami, although that offense really has kind of sputtered a little bit. Look, they're NBA teams, good teams, they're gonna test you. They're gonna need Deuce back, and even when he is healthy, the question will be, assuming they have the ammo to go get someone that can play in rotation come trade deadline, like where do they go, and what kind of player do they want to get? Someone that you can feel comfortable with guarding point of attack, screen navigator. I think someone that's got a little sturdiness to them as well, I think are going to be important factors. And obviously you want that guy to be a positive on offense if you're going to expect that player to play minutes in the playoffs. So that is just going to be a very tough get for the Knicks. And considering they're going to be on the lower echelon in terms of what they can offer compared to other teams with assets and apron stuff, that's going to limit their flexibility. So I agree with you, Colin, that they're going to need to bring someone in, because right now their point of attack defense is not great. And, that's where Mitchell Robinson, like if he can continue to round into shape and you can feel comfortable with him as a rim protector, Cat's been pretty good all year as a rim protector. It can mitigate some of that. But if you're going to get straight line blow by drives, there's no help defense scheme. There's no rim protection that is going to cover that up. When a guard is coming off the screen with just ample space because Bridges is just unable to navigate. And I saw Bridges on the ground 2 or 3 times trying to navigate screens, literally on the ground. Maybe there are fouls in there, but he just can't do it at a high level and hasn't done it in 2 seasons now. So that is tough, because I thought Cat at times was too soft with his defense on Maxey, especially early. I thought the Knicks gave up 2 Maxey threes. Cat was in a drop, but just needed to be up higher at the level. Maxey makes his first 3, and then the second one, Hart just has his hands down, and it's Maxey just holding the ball, and he's got a clean visual to the basket, and it's basically an open 3, even though Hart's standing right in front of him. So that'll be tracked as a tightly contested 3 based on the foot proximity, but Hart never got a hand up, and it's a clean look. So it wasn't just the lack of on-ball defense. There was some mental errors, which again ties back into maybe there's some fatigue happening here. Thanks, Colin. Jason MNYC. What's up, Jason? F the NBA for scheduling the 76ers tonight on back-to-back. It's the NBA did not do the Knicks any favors. It just is what it is. There's probably an explanation by the league in terms of like why this had to have happened in this manner. But if a team like the Knicks, they're gonna, I'm sure, make because they can't be pleased about how the schedule played out. I'm sure they've already expressed that to the league office. If the league is going to hear this constantly from teams that are playing deep into the cup finals and have these quick turnarounds, it is going to make the appetite of these teams going for it like the Knicks did. Just they're not going to be as hungry to do it. And I think that is something the league doesn't have to necessarily worry about right now, but I think the momentum for maybe being a little less aggressive to win these cup games are going to start taking hold a little bit if you are going to place them at such a disadvantage immediately after it. And that's something the league is going to have to figure out. They are so invested in the cup being a major thing that if this is the byproduct of having the cup and you're going to have this condensed schedule and put these teams at disadvantages that go deep into the cup tournament, then they're just going to accept that. But I do think teams will start having major problems if this is just a continuing issue post cup, because it is not fair. If you were going to look at this in terms of fairness, it is not fair, the predicament the Knicks are in. But I still think the Knicks because they knew this going in, obviously. They knew what was coming after the cup. They knew this was going to be tough for them. And they made the decision collectively to still go and try to win the thing. They could have taken their foot off the gas a little bit. They could have played it in terms of how they viewed it and its importance with less importance and priority as they would a regular season game. But they clearly valued the cup more than your typical regular season game in middle of December, because their actions told us that. And I think that's a commendable thing. but they're now dealing with those unintended or intended consequences of that. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Justin Richards, 516. What's up, Justin? Brunson, OG, McHale all looked gassed. Josh Hart stopped shooting threes for some reason. Rough Kolek game, but he's been great lately. Shout out, Mitch. Absolutely. Kev, let's give a star to this one as a contender for Fanatics chat of the night. Shout out Justin for really contextualizing this game in 3 sentences. You did a really nice job, because I agree with everything you said there. I mentioned Hart in the second half reverting back to the player that is just not comfortable taking those threes. Had some corner threes that he was pump faking and trying to drive. He had one at one point against Paul George where he had the three and then decided to drive a closeout, and George is just too good a defender to allow that blow by. Ended up cutting off the drive, stalling the possession. Again, he didn't play last night, so you can't really use fatigue with him as much as you would with Brunson, OG, McHale, who all played in the Indiana game. And then Kolek, really rough game for him. Mentioned in the monologue, talked all about it. There's been games like this with him. There's been at least 2 this one where he's played, extended minutes and struggled gaining separation. That is going to just be something to monitor going forward here, because it's how teams can really get into his drive and his handle. I think his handle is really good. He doesn't have a ton of wiggle, and he needs separation off that initial ball screen, but that is going to be tougher when they're into the ball, and that's why point of attack defense, and you'll hear people saying point of attack defense is overrated. It's not necessary. It's all about the help. And you saw tonight the value of point of attack defense. You saw tonight one team in the 76ers that was able to dictate the action a lot by how they were guarding on the ball, and the fact that they weren't having to bring so much help and they were able to stay in their shell. And that all started with their on-ball defense, their technique, aggression, athleticism. They're able to slide, stay in front, physicality. All those things were really good against Brunson and Kolek specifically. Really made life difficult for them. And then on the other end, did you ever feel like the Knicks were making life difficult for the 76ers guards? Those guards missed shots, but I don't think it was really because the Knicks defenders were kind of forcing the action. And that is why point of attack defense is always going to be critical and has never not been. It's always been such a big part of how this league works defensively, because if you can get into a player's dribble and you can make it so hard for the screener to even set that screen, then you are really messing up any sort of idea of trying to develop an advantage. If you can't get that advantage off that initial ball screen because the separation isn't there, then it's going to be very difficult for you unless you have elite one-on-one scoring, which the Knicks have in Jalen Brunson. He just didn't have it tonight, and not against that defender in BJ Edgecombe. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. John Leary, what's up, John? Reaching the Cup Finals ends up screwing you schedule-wise, something the NBA needs to fix in the future. Star that one, because I think I literally just said the same thing. And I think there's going to be a point of it being so, teams are going to be so weary of how they're going to bounce back into the normal schedule after these, that you're just going to get teams that are going to protect the actual schedule and their team's performance in the actual NBA schedule and games that count for the standings versus trying to win the cup. And I think the NBA needs to avoid that ASAP. I think even as early as this next season, they need to figure out a way to give some relief to these teams that are going deep into these cup games. Obviously, the teams that are playing in the championship, they are the most vulnerable to these condensed, difficult post-cup schedules. But you can't tell me there's not a way to mitigate that a little bit. even if it's not going to be perfect, because you're going to get teams that are like the 76ers who had a almost week off and they're practicing and they're able to game plan for you. I mean, this basically the 76ers had the luxury, and Nick Nurse is as good as it gets in terms of like scheming on the defensive end. They were able to figure out a way with multiple days off how to defend this great Knicks offense. And clearly they had a plan in terms of like how they were going to defend, and they executed that. And that they were afforded that luxury because of the amount of days off they had. The Knicks had literally played last night, and they had a day off in between the Cup final and a game that was taxing, and they flew to half the country. So NBA should do something about it. It's such a competitive disadvantage that it would be completely unfair for the league to just turn a blind eye to it and just act like nothing should be done, because something should be done. And I agree with you, John. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Anthony Sixto. What's up, Anthony? Brown could have pulled Kolek earlier, liked that he gave Kolek minutes to fight through. He kind of did. NBA punished the Cup winner with this schedule. Yeah, I thought Brown, and look, I haven't heard post-game with him. He's probably not going to divulge, what his decision-making was in terms of how much rope he gave Kolek. I'm guessing if he had McBride, he would have pulled the plug a little earlier, but yeah, it was nice that he didn't completely abandon Kolek early in the game when it was evident that he was struggling a little bit with what the 76ers were doing to him defensively. Well, really, and offensively. Like on both sides, like Kolek really struggled, and Brown didn't take him out. I think a major part of that is he didn't have another viable option, and Kolek had been playing so well that it would have been a little too aggressive to just yank him early. But yeah, the NBA, they did punish the Cup winner with the schedule, and they punished the Spurs too. If you're playing in the finals of that game, it's going to be tough for you on the back end when you have to get back to your regularly scheduled lives, which, there's also the fact that you had this game where mentally you're so juiced up and you want to, the Knicks clearly wanted to win it so bad that there's got to be a letdown feeling when you're going back to these games where, Indiana, it's a bad team who's not winning a lot of games. They're able to figure that one out. And, the 76ers, a good, solid team, but not a team that's going to necessarily like bring the best out of you competitively, because, they're not a team that you look at and say like, all right, we're circling that game on the schedule. So you didn't have that sort of internal natural way to get yourself up for the game. And these next two, Miami, Minnesota, they better get up for those, because they're going to have a 3-game losing streak if they come out with the same sort of mindset in those and they don't button things up, because they were just things that, yeah, fatigue is a huge part of it, but also like just get through that. You have a day off now. This is what's required of you. This is something they can't come out against the Heat and just have the same sort of mental mistakes that have been such a, have been something that this team has really avoided for years now, this group. And they didn't avoid it tonight, and it burned them. 16-2 disadvantage, points off turnovers, -14. Tough. Thank you, Anthony. Sam Garcia, what's up, Sam? Schedule makers need to be dealt with. Yeah, so this is the theme. And I get it. This is what you have to be fair to talk about it. And it's completely reasonable to assume that if the Cup wasn't a thing, that this Knicks team would have on equal footing. And I said it earlier, they probably were up 10, 12 points in the first half, because the shot quality was so good and they just were missing everything. And look, you're going to have shot variance kind of go against you when you have full health, when you're full energy and you're feeling great, physically. But, there's going to be a point where when you're that tired and it's going to, especially shooting a basketball, it's going to be a problem. 8 for 32 from 3, 76 or 17 of 41. I mean, it's the 3-point shot and the turnovers. I mean, that's it. That's the ball game. And the Knicks didn't dominate enough on the offensive glass to really to make that deficiency up. They were hemorrhaging too many points at the 3 line and too many points off turnovers to win this one. They got to figure out how to get back their verve quickly, because you don't want to have a 3-game losing streak coming up, and the vibes turning and things. But I am sort of preparing myself that this potentially could be there, and then you'd have the momentum to sort of say that cup was a problem for the Knicks, not something they should be proud of, would only increase. And if the Knicks have some listless performances and then these next 2 combined with this one, then I think you'd have reason to say that. I think it would be a defensible position, even if it wouldn't be one I would necessarily hold. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you. Hush Z Knicks. What's up, Hush Z? Can't even be mad at the loss. What a week for our guys. Rest up for Miami and let's reset. Give me a star on that one, because I think it's a fair way to acknowledge this one. Like, you can't. I'm frustrated with it. I'm not mad at this one because I know all the things that sort of had to go against the Knicks for them to lose this one. I love this week. It's that win in Vegas was one of my favorite wins that I've seen in a while. If you take away, probably Boston Game 6 is higher, and this is just terms of like what I felt like seeing the Knicks win the game. Like Boston Game 6 is just, it's obviously special and going, they beating Boston going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but this one was like top 5 for me of like the last like decade. That was a great time watching the Knicks win, and in the back of my mind, I also like knew it didn't mean that much. Like it wasn't like they were gonna like the season was gonna end. So I had like all this joy and fun watching the game without the specter of like this could end the season if they lose it, which added to the enjoyment of watching it. But I just loved the experience of watching the Knicks enjoy this win. So I don't want to like ever lose that feeling. I don't want it to be colored by the fact that the Knicks lost this game, because that cup win was special, and it should remain that, even if the Knicks have a bit of a struggle here in the next few. But that's just like how I view it. That is also like, maybe it's not even the majority right now. I think there might be fans that are just a little more like, we went for it so much. Now we struggle versus Indiana. We almost lose that game. We lose to the 76ers, and we have, 2 physical teams the next 2 nights. I mean, this could not go well for the Knicks. I get it. It's schedule made it tough for them, and they came out of it okay against Indiana, but they did not come out of it okay tonight, and they just didn't have their legs, and you saw it on both ends of the floor. Thanks, Josh Z. Appreciate it. Deadwords 604 again. What's up, Deadwords? They looked tired tonight at times. Second night of a back-to-back in a very condensed part of the schedule due to the cup games. Relax tomorrow and go beat the Heat. Yeah. I one night off or one day off, how much is that going to allow them to reset? We'll see. Just look at that. I should pull this up. I'm just curious about the minutes of the Knicks and like how they looked tonight. So Bridges 37, Brunson 36, Towns 35, Hart 33, Anunoby 31. So OG's minutes were down. Robinson ended up playing 26. That's a high number for him. but no one really at a level that was incredibly high. Bridges has played like a lot of minutes recently. If you look at his game log, so 42 minutes Orlando, 32 minutes in the cup final. Obviously, that makes sense. He had the stretch where he didn't play. 37 Indiana, 37 tonight. But he's Mikal Bridges. I don't think he's used to that, playing that number. Now Brunson here, 36 minutes, as I mentioned today. 34 Indiana, 41 cup final, 38 cup semifinal, 39 in the quarterfinal, 37 before that. So he's played 37, 39, 38, 41, 34, 36. That is an average of, what is that? Average minutes. I know it's a lot. Trying to get the thing to do the math for me. It's not working, but he's playing 38 minutes. Yeah, 38 minutes a night for a pretty good stretch there. That's on the high end for Brunson. For a 6-game stretch, 38 minutes a night. If you ask Mike Brown, that's about 3 to 4 minutes too much. So I think he's going to have to pull back a little bit on those Brunson minutes. McBride complicates that with him being out, so his importance is that much more important. And then obviously Kolek, takes his lumps in this one, but figures out a way to play well in against the Heat and against the Timberwolves, because you don't want to keep Brunson playing upper 30s minutes for more than what he has now. Like, this is a 6-game stretch is what it is. We need to now tamp down a bit. Thank you, Edwards. Appreciate it. Robert W. Cross. What's up, Robert? DJ, great to see you and happy holidays. Same to you, my friend. This is the most positive I have felt about the New York Knicks since Cat's arrival. We are title contenders, 53 wins. Let's give a star to Mr. Cross for the positive vibes. I think I agree with you. This is the most positive I have felt as well since Cat came over. I think this team, if we're going to kind of step back, look big picture, I think where this team is right now, you have to feel very good on both sides of the ball. Like, I think if you get a fully healthy Knicks team, you're talking about a top 3 offense and I would say a top 10 defense, not upper tier defense, but 8 through 10 level defense. And that combination is going to put you in conference championship tier category. There's been a lot of talk about where the Knicks stand in the Eastern Conference. A lot of talk about them being the clear class of the conference. And I think that's fair to say that. I am a little more bullish on the Detroit Pistons than I think a lot of kind of the national folks who are, I think, and it's just reasonable. I think a lot of national writers, analysts are just conditioned to want to see a young team do it in a playoff setting before they anoint them. And obviously the Pistons lost in the first round last year. So it's hard to just assume they're going to make a leap to like, all right, this team can go to the finals. But they have just really impressed me. I think their record is maybe a little inflated in terms of, winning some close games. But this is, to me, I think the Pistons and the Knicks are in the same tier. If you want to say the Knicks are slightly ahead, I think it's completely reasonable. I would put them in the same tier. And then you have a host of, 3-4 teams below them. The Cavaliers, the most interesting one in terms of like what's going on there with that team and Garland's injury issues, Mobley's stagnation, Jared Allen's, is he going to be on the team after the trade deadline? Donovan Mitchell's crankiness, is this team maybe tuning out the head coach? There's a lot going on there. And DeAndre Hunter just not being the guy that came over last year in terms of his production. So yeah, the Knicks are a tier above them. They're a tier above Orlando, but I think the Pistons are right there in the same class as the Knicks. It'll be very, very interesting to see how those two teams match up in the regular season. I do know that they are not a great matchup for the Knicks for a lot of reasons. But generally speaking, Robert, I am with you in terms of like how I feel about this team and where they can go this year. They've been really, really good, and tonight was just a bump in the road, but got to figure out how to again get back, let the hangover of the cup, the literal hangover, the figurative hangover resolve itself, and now get yourself back into like the grind of the season and start stringing together more wins, keep a kind of stave off a potential losing streak here. And obviously, two good teams coming up, I think would maybe kind of force the issue a little bit in terms of this Knicks team getting up for those games. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. And one more for Mr. Cross. Hello, DJ. Healthy Mitch. Come the playoffs, and the banner is ours. Let's go Knicks. Hashtag 53 wins. We've seen Mitch in multiple playoff series, several playoff series, like perform like an all-star center in terms of production. And he, healthy, changes games. The last two that he's played, case in point, cup final and then this one. Turn this one around. Knicks were down, I think 7 when he entered the game. And he almost single-handedly erased the lead. And just looked great athletically. I mean, what's interesting about Mitch this year before tonight, like he's had these like gaudy offensive rebound performances. I would say before the cup final. Before the cup final, he would have these gaudy offensive rebound performances, and passing out of those offensive rebounds has become such a skill for him. The way he looks for those 3-point shooters and the efficiency of how they're shooting off those passes and all that, but really hasn't put it together on the defensive end. It just hasn't looked the same in terms of his athleticism. Well, his athleticism seems to have been rejuvenated in these last 2 games. So that is, as I said, if the free throw shooting becomes, obviously he's not going to go 7 of 8, but if he can be, we sign up for 50% from here on out. If he shoots, I don't know, if he's a 50% 3-point free throw shooter, he's probably still getting fouled. I say 6. If he can shoot, this might be a lot, 55% the rest of the year, it might be at that number enough to where teams are not going to deploy the Hack-a-Mitch strategy. Or they might, because he is so dynamic as an offensive rebounder and passer now. But he's a critical piece, to your point, Robert. And if he can be this athlete going forward, then you're going to get two-way Mitch, not just the offensive impact. You're going to get the defensive impact, which we have not consistently seen this year. Thank you, Robert. And then Kev, I know we have exhausted our super chats, so we have exhausted our options for Fanatics chat of the night. I think we had 3 or 4, three options here. Can you remind me? I don't have Macri's memory to do it off the dome. So
there's 3. We have Justin Richards, 516, who spoke about Brunson and everybody being gassed. He gave a very good breakdown of everything that happened, from Josh Hart to Kolek, and shout out to Mitch. Then we had John Leary, who says that reaching the cup finals. Let me just throw him up there. Here's the first one from Justin Richards.
Yep.
John Leary saying reaching the cup finals, screw you schedule-wise. They really need to fix that. It's a bunch of silliness and hogwash and balderdash that'll happen. It's completely concerning. No, like, you win and then you got to do a back-to-back Like one day when you're flying back from Vegas to Indiana, you can't even get a home game out of it. Like it's awful. And then we have Rob Crossy, who had the positive comment, the best he's felt since Cat's arrival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, three good ones. Throw up the first one for me one more time. I'm going to go with Justin Richards 516 just for contextualizing, in my opinion, the game in 3 sentences. I thought he did a great job of just like this post-game show could have been his comment, and you would have known exactly what happened and felt good about it. So shout out Justin Richards 516 for the Fanatics chat of the night. Make sure you email Justin, Knicks Film School at gmail.com. That's Knicks Film Schools, SCHOOL at gmail.com to coordinate your prize, $25 in FANCASH. Shout out Justin for the Fanatics chat of the night. Thank you, everyone who contributed tonight with your super chats. Thank you, Kev, my man. You can hear Kev's original music on every KFS X's and O's show. Yeah. I liked it so much that I played it in the intro and accidentally or purposely hit it again on the show open, but it is incredibly good. You are a very talented man. Yeah,
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It's so good. Thank you all for tuning in. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to the audio feed, please give us a 5-star rating on all podcast platforms and a review. Follow us, all our KFS socials. We're going to be at Knicks Film School, at Knicks Film School. That's SKOOL. Thank you, Kev. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll get back at it.
I'm gonna be for all the Knicks fans, KFS listeners in Atlanta. I'm gonna be at the game. What is it? The 27th Saturday. So if you're out there, holla, we'll pull up. You know what I'm saying? I'm going with my brother and my nieces, so it'll be cool.
Beautiful, man. That's awesome. What do you think? It's gonna be like what? You think 40% Knicks fans in that building, or think we'll get to like 50-50? Or the Hawks a little too good now to
like 40, like 35, 40. Last time I went to a game, I think it was last year's game in January. It might have been the year before, but it was like Knicks fans galore. We were having a great time. We lost the game too, and the Hawks fans were going crazy. And I just had to be like this. You know,
was that the game where Trae Young told us to go home?
Yes.
In the post-game show, because he was I think mic'd up for the whole arena to hear.
Yeah. And then I went home.
And then you went home. So he told you to go home. You went home. What are you gonna do? You can't stay there. So it's a weak threat because you had no choice. Enjoy that. That should be fun.
Absolutely.
With the family. Yeah. And thank you again for hanging out. Thanks everyone for watching, listening, and all that. We'll talk soon. Go Knicks. Let's get back at it against Miami. Talk soon.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.